Hey, y'all. Welcome to Boozy Bee's Books and Cocktails. I'm Dana B. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a rainy day out in Arkansas and kind of gloomy and cold. And so it kind of sets the mood for us to talk about this book. The book that I have chosen today is called The Dust Child, and it is by Nguyễn Phan Quế Mai. And she is a Vietnamese woman. She is a poet and also an author. She's written several books, but this is the book that I chose. And the reason I chose this book is I had been reading another book called The Women by Kristen Hanna. And it goes over the brave women that were in Vietnam during the war. They were nurses and they weren't recognized by the government. They saw as much war as the men, but were not able to express themselves, and the government just didn't acknowledge them. The family didn't acknowledge them. So the women follows American women. The Dust Child is about the Vietnamese people, and it follows three families. And I have read this book. I read it once, and then I went back to review some things and ended up listening to about a third of it the second time. And I've done some research online. And I tell you, it's a hard book to listen to. It's a hard book to read. It's a hard subject to talk about and even to Google. And if you know anything about me, after I read a book, I like to Google to see the facts, and especially with a historical fiction like this one. But this story follows three families, and it is a saga. It is talks about grief. It talks about resilience of a people. It talks about forgiveness, love, understanding, things that you would do for your family that maybe you didn't ever think you would have to do or would be asked to do, just to be able to survive. Survival is a big word in this book that I got out of this book. So the beginning of the book, it introduces two sisters, and they are in the field, and they are having to work for their family. The dad had been a soldier in fighting for the Viet Cong, and he got hurt really bad, and so he comes home, and he's not able to support his family, so his daughters have to work in the field, and his wife has to take care of him. And the government, the communist government, takes away the family farm because they can't support themselves. So they're living in a shack on the edge of the farm, and these girls are farming. And they're just like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get our family out of this situation? Our dad needs these surgeries. He can't afford them. What are we going to do? So during the way, in the book, they meet one of their friends from high school, and she is prospering very well. She has gone to Saigon to work in an office, and the girl comes back and forth, and she's bringing her mom lots of presents and candy and furniture. And so they go to her and say, what are you doing? How can we do this too? And at first she says she's working in an office, and she is very hesitant in a way to tell the truth. And so the girls go back to her again and said, okay, be honest with us, what's going on. So she ends up telling them that she works in a bar. She is a bar girl at the Hollywood Bar there in Saigon. And the way she tells it at first is, she just sits at a bar, drinks tea, which the GIs think that it's bourbon, and just talks to them. So they're like, well, we can do that. We're pretty girls. We can do that. So they lie to their parents and tell them that they're going to Saigon to work in the office. And so they end up being bar girls. And at first it is just drinking tea until the GIs figure out that it's not what they're paying for. And so then the next story, it jumps in time, and it's Dan. And Dan is a Vietnam vet. It's in 2000, and he is married to Linda. They have no children. And Linda has been working with VA programs this whole time since Dan went to Vietnam, and she's very compassionate, and she's helped Vietnam vets find housing, mental health, anything that she can do to help the Vietnam vets. And Dan is very stand backish. He's going through PTSD really bad. And Linda has a friend that's a Vietnamese, and she's like, "Why don't y'all go back to Saigon? It's a changed city. He can maybe work through some of his PTSD." So they make this trip, and Dan is very reluctant to go back. What he's not told Linda is that when he was over there, he was a helicopter pilot, and he has always told Linda that he was just over there picking up soldiers and helping soldiers around. But what he has not told Linda is that he started having an affair with a Vietnamese woman, and her name is Kim. And so the book kind of flips back to Dan and Kim's relationship in Vietnam. And Dan comes over there. He's 18 years old. He's working on the helicopter. He's a fresh-faced GI soldier, and they just become friends before they become lovers. And she shows him the culture, and so this really plays a big part, I feel like, in Dan's PTSD, because he sees so much of her people being destroyed by the American people. And so this is really hard for him and for her. And she stands by him, and she just loves on him and teaches him so much of the Vietnamese culture. The third story is Phong, and he is the result of a relationship between a GI soldier and a Vietnamese woman. And his father is a Black American soldier. And in Vietnam, when the product of that relationship becomes a child, and they are the lowest of the low people there. The women that actually keep these children are very persecuted. So Phong's mother knows this is going to happen. So after she has him, she takes him to an orphanage, and she leaves him in a bag, a sack, and she hangs the sack from a tree. And Phong really has a hard time with this because he is made fun of and just very abused and bullied throughout this story. And his story is that he's trying to find his heritage, his family. And he is raised by a nun, and the nun keeps telling him that his mother protected him because she didn't just leave him on the ground. She put him in a sack. She hung him that sack from the tree to protect him from the animals that might get him, might hurt him. So he has these two stories, and as his story progresses, the Dust Children, they are highly sought after. In 1987, there is an act that is passed by Congress called the Homecoming Act of 1987. And what that says is if you are a descendant of American soldier and a Vietnamese woman, you can have passage to the United States and become a citizen. And the United States government will help you. And so that becomes an issue for some of these children that are orphanaged because there are Vietnamese people that want to help you get money, and they'll say, if you pretend to be our family and help us get to the United States, we'll pose as your mom and dad. So Phong is, it's just a heart-wrenching story, his story. But he ends up, he marries a woman, and she helps him, and they continue to search through. And so it's so great how these three stories become one story. And I'm not going to give it all away because it's such a wonderful heartbreak. It will kill you, absolutely kill you. And then it'll raise you up because there's hope, and you see the resilience in the families. You see the forgiveness of the people that are there. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful story. And I had never given much thought to the Vietnamese people, which is bad on me. I had always just thought of our side, the American side, and what we went through, and how many people we lost, how many GIs we lost, or how many GIs came back over here with such horrible PTSD or injuries or just heartbreak on their part. Well, what I didn't think about was the Vietnamese people and what they went through. And now they're recovering and building these beautiful cities, and some of the most wonderful food that you'll ever eat. My favorite is pho, and you can go to Postmasters Spirits in Newport and try it out. It's great. So for the cocktail, when you're thinking about cocktail, you're thinking about yay, party, whatever. So it was a little bit difficult for me to figure out what the cocktail would be. And they mention alcohol in a couple of the stories, but it was pretty much just a shot of bourbon or whiskey, and I didn't really want to go that way. But Vietnam is a tropical place, so I chose to do a classic daiquiri today. And the alcohol was there during Vietnam. So the alcohol that I'm going to be using today is rum. So we've got, and I went ahead and mixed up some simple syrup with fresh lime juice. And limes are very much used in Vietnam in their food and their drinks. So I felt like I was pretty well staying with the story. So I've got an ounce of lime juice and 3/4 ounces of simple syrup. And I've got ice in my shaker. We're using a Boston shaker again today. So I've got that. And then we're going to put 2 ounces of rum. If I can do this without spilling it. So 2 ounces of rum. 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice, and 3/4 ounce of simple syrup. We're going to shake this up. Give it a good shake. And if I can get this off without spilling it everywhere. My daughter gave me this pretty little fun glass, so I thought that it would be appropriate for this. Put my notes over here. And then we're going to dress it up with a lime. So there's your classic daiquiri. And I hope you'll give this book a chance. It's a great book. It really brought to life some issues that I didn't know about. I'd never really thought much about the Vietnam War because of when the Vietnam War was going on, my mother was very ill. And the only time I really thought about Vietnam or the war was when they would break in to our shows that we were watching. I didn't have many family members that went over there, so it didn't affect me. So this book and The Women by Kristen Hanna affected me a lot, and because it made me think about the mothers and the fathers that lost their children. So I hope that you'll give this a chance. It's a great, great book. So cheers, and we'll see you next time.